The morning sun cast long shadows across the glass towers of New Geneva as Admiral Dae-Ho Park straightened his simple blue uniform. To anyone watching, he looked like just another mid-level human bureaucrat heading to another boring meeting about mining quotas and trade routes. The aliens who ruled the galaxy saw him exactly as he wanted them to see him, unimportant and harmless. Dae-Ho walked through the busy streets where humans and aliens mixed freely. Tall, blue-skinned Valdari floated past on their gravity platforms, their large black eyes scanning human thoughts with casual interest. Crystalline beings from the Nexus Collective clicked and hummed to each other in their strange language. Bug-like Korath drones marched in perfect lines, their hive mind controlling every step. None of them paid attention to the quiet human admiral. This was exactly what Dae-Ho had worked 50 years to achieve. He entered the Federation building and took the elevator to the 20th floor. His office door read Ambassador of Colonial Development in 5 different alien languages. Inside, the walls were covered with charts showing human mining colonies scattered across the outer rim of the galaxy. Red dots marked failed projects and yellow ones showed struggling settlements. Every single dot was a lie. Dae-Ho closed the door and pressed his hand against a hidden scanner. The wall behind his desk slid away, revealing a second office filled with screens showing the real state of human civilization. Blue dots marked completed Titan-class warships. Green ones showed construction sites. Orange dots were recruitment centers disguised as trade schools. "Morning report," he said to the empty room. Dr. Haewon Kim's face appeared on the main screen. She was officially a cultural exchange coordinator, working on some distant alien world. In reality, she ran the largest spy network the galaxy had ever seen. "The Valdari High Council met yesterday," she said, her voice calm despite the terrible news she was about to share. "They're moving faster than we thought. The integration protocol has been approved." Dae-Ho felt his stomach drop, but his face remained steady. The integration protocol was the aliens' plan to divide human space among themselves. Humans would become slaves, their colonies turned into resource extraction sites for their new masters. "Timeline?" he asked. 10 years, maybe less. Haewon's image flickered as she adjusted her hidden transmitter. "The Korath want our mineral-rich worlds. The Nexus Collective wants our agricultural planets. The Valdari want us for manual labor. Apparently human minds are pleasantly simple for them to control. And they still think we're helpless? Completely. Yesterday, I sat through a 3-hour meeting where Valdari strategists discussed the best ways to transport human slaves. They talked about us like we were livestock." Dae-Ho nodded. This was both good and bad news. Good because their deception was still working. Bad because they were running out of time. "Status on Project Titan?" he asked. Another face appeared on screen. Engineer Byung-Ho Lee, calling in from what the aliens thought was a failed terraforming project in the Kepler system. In reality, it was construction site for humanity's first planet-sized warship. "Forge is at 92% completion," Byung-Ho reported. His image showed him floating in zero gravity inside what looked like a massive cave. Behind him, thousands of human workers in spacesuits moved like ants across the inner surface of their artificial world. "Main weapon systems are online. Reality drives are installed and tested. We're ahead of schedule. Any alien attention?" "None. A Valdari patrol came by last month. They saw exactly what we wanted them to see, a dead rock with some failed atmosphere processors. They didn't even slow down. This was the heart of humanity's great deception. While the aliens thought humans were struggling to terraform hostile worlds, they were actually building weapons that could destroy entire star systems. Each failed colony was actually a construction site. Each struggling settlement was a military base. "What about recruitment?" Dae-Ho asked. Captain So-Rae-Yoon's face joined the others on screen. Officially, she ran a shipping company that moved cargo between human colonies. Actually, she was building the most dangerous military force the galaxy had ever seen. "We're at full strength," she said. 12 million combat-ready personnel, all trained in zero-G warfare. The aliens think they're watching cargo pilots and colonial security guards. They have no idea we've been running military exercises disguised as shipping runs. Deho smiled. Every human freighter captain was actually a trained military officer. Every merchant marine was a soldier who could outfight any alien warrior. Every shipping run was a chance to study alien defenses and map strategic targets. The beauty of it, Sora continued, is that the aliens keep underestimating us. Last week, a Korath general told me that humans would make good workers because we follow orders without thinking. He has no idea that I've memorized the location of every Korath military base in this sector. Speaking of intelligence, Heiwan said, I have an update from our people inside alien governments. Jinwoo Choi appeared on screen next. He was supposed to be a cultural attaché to the Korath Dominion, helping aliens understand human art and music. In reality, he had spent 20 years learning how the hive mind worked and how to fool it. The Korath are planning something big, he said. They're moving ships to staging areas near human space. I think they're preparing for early action. How early? Deho asked. Months, not years. The room fell silent. This changed everything. They had been planning for 10 years of preparation time. If the aliens moved early, humanity might not be ready. Can we accelerate construction? Deho asked Byung-ho. Maybe. But we need at least 3 Titan ships to guarantee success. Right. Now we only have 1 nearly complete. Then we make it work with 1, Sora said. My people are ready. We've been ready for years. Deho looked at the faces on his screens. These people had dedicated their lives to this moment. For 50 years, humanity had played the role of the weak, primitive species that posed no threat to anyone. They had smiled while aliens insulted them, nodded when aliens dismissed their capabilities, and quietly prepared for war. Very well, he said. Signal all stations. Operation Titan moves to active status. If the aliens want to move early, they'll get more than they bargained for. He turned to Heiwan. I need you to find out exactly when and where they plan to strike first. Use every asset we have. Already on it, she said. My people are in position throughout alien space. We'll know their plans before their own soldiers do. Byung-ho, push construction to maximum. Work around the clock if you have to. Understood. Forge will be ready. Sora, prepare your forces for immediate deployment. This isn't a drill anymore. My people have been waiting their whole lives for this fight. As the screens went dark, Deho stood alone in his hidden office. Outside his window, he could see alien ships moving through Earth's sky. They thought they owned this galaxy. They thought humans were just another weak species to be conquered and enslaved. They were about to learn how wrong they were. For 50 years, while the galaxy slept, humanity had forged weapons that could reshape the stars themselves. Soon, aliens would discover what happened when they underestimated the species that had climbed from caves to conquer their own world in just a few thousand years. Deho smiled grimly and began preparing for war. The asteroid belt beyond Mars looked empty to any casual observer. Space was full of dark rocks drifting in eternal silence, just as it had been for billions of years. But if someone looked closer at the right coordinates, they would discover that some of those rocks were not rocks at all. Engineer Byung-ho Lee floated through a massive tunnel carved deep inside what appeared to be a lifeless asteroid. The tunnel walls glowed with soft blue light from thousands of workstations where humans in spacesuits assembled weapons larger than most alien buildings. This was Shipyard 7, one of humanity's best-kept secrets. Status report, Byung-ho said into his communicator as he drifted toward the main construction bay. Hull plating is complete on sections 12 through 18, came the reply from his chief engineer. Weapon systems are being installed on the forward batteries. We're actually ahead of schedule. Byung-ho smiled inside his helmet. The second Titan-class warship, codenamed Anvil, was taking shape exactly as planned. From the outside, this asteroid looked like a dead chunk of rock barely worth mining. From the inside, it was humanity's most advanced shipyard, building a weapon that could destroy planets. He entered the main construction bay and felt his breath catch, even after working here for 15 years. The space was so large that its far walls disappeared into darkness. In the center, suspended by thousands of gravity manipulators, was Anvil itself. The ship was enormous beyond imagination. It measured over 1,200 kilometers from bow to stern, roughly the size of a small moon. Its hull was covered in armor plating made from materials that didn't exist anywhere else in the galaxy. Weapons ports dotted its surface like cities on a planet. "Beautiful, isn't she?" said Chief Engineer Mina Bay as she floated up beside him. "She's more than beautiful," Byung-ho replied. "She's humanity's future." Mina nodded toward the massive engines at the ship's rear. "The reality drives are the real masterpiece. The aliens threw away those ancient derelicts because they couldn't understand the technology. Took us 30 years just to figure out how to turn them on." The reality drives were humanity's greatest discovery. 50 years ago, human explorers had found the wrecks of ancient ships drifting in deep space. The technology was millions of years old, left behind by a civilization that had vanished long before the current galactic powers even existed. The aliens had studied the wrecks briefly, declared the technology incomprehensible and useless, and abandoned them. Humans had spent decades learning how the ancient technology worked. The reality drives didn't just move ships through space. They could bend space itself, allowing a vessel to appear in multiple locations at once or travel instantly across vast distances. With this technology, humanity's Titan ships could strike anywhere in the galaxy without warning. "How long until she's ready?" Byung-ho asked. 6 weeks if we maintain current pace. Maybe 4 if we push harder." "Push harder. We may need her sooner than planned." As they spoke, other humans worked throughout the massive construction bay. Welders sealed armor plates with beams of superheated plasma. Engineers installed weapon systems that could crack the crust of a planet. Technicians programmed computers, more advanced than entire alien civilizations. Every worker here was officially listed as either missing or dead in Federation records. They had volunteered to give up their old lives and become humanity's hidden army. Some had been here for decades, never seeing sunlight or breathing natural air, all for the chance to protect their species from extinction. "Sir," Mina said, "we're getting a transmission from Captain Yoon." Captain Sora Yoon's face appeared on Byung-ho's helmet display. She was calling from another failed colony 3 star systems away, where she was running humanity's secret military academy. "Byung-ho, I need to talk to you about deployment," she said. "My people are ready, but they need to know what they're fighting with." "What do you mean?" "I can train soldiers to fight alien ships. I can train them to use our advanced weapons, but these Titan ships are something entirely new. My fighters need to understand their capabilities." Byung-ho nodded. This was a fair point. The Titan ships weren't just large vessels. They were mobile bases that could carry entire fleets inside their hulls. Each one was designed to operate independently for years, manufacturing its own ammunition, growing its own food, and training its own personnel. Each Titan carries 800 fighter craft, he explained, plus support vessels, landing craft, and manufacturing facilities. When deployed, they can establish forward bases on any planet or moon. The reality drives let them appear anywhere without warning. And the firepower? Each main gun can destroy a city with one shot. The point defense systems can track and eliminate thousands of targets simultaneously. And if we need to... He paused. The reality drives can be weaponized. We could theoretically destroy an entire star system. Sora was quiet for a moment. That's more power than any civilization in galactic history. Which is why we have to use it responsibly, Byung-ho said. We're not building these ships to conquer. We're building them to survive. Meanwhile, in a different part of the solar system, Captain Sora floated in the observation deck of Training Station Delta. The station was disguised as a mining facility on a small moon, but it was actually humanity's most advanced military academy. Through the transparent aluminum windows, she could see thousands of human fighters practicing combat maneuvers in the vacuum of space. They wore advanced combat suits that made them look like demons from human mythology. Black armor covered in weapon systems, with glowing red visors and built-in jetpacks. Each fighter was trained in zero-gravity combat, something no alien species had ever mastered. Aliens fought in ships or on planets with gravity, but humans had learned to fight in the emptiness of space itself. They could move through 3 dimensions with perfect coordination, striking from any angle and disappearing into darkness. "Ma'am," said Lieutenant Kyung-Soo Nam as he floated up beside her, "the new recruits are ready for final evaluation." Sora nodded. These recruits were special. They had been selected to crew the Titan ships when the time came. Each one had trained for years in complete secrecy, officially listed as lost in space or killed in mining accidents. "Show me their skills," she said. The lights dimmed, and a holographic battlefield appeared around them. The recruits faced a simulated alien fleet, hundreds of enemy ships surrounding a small human force. To any observer, it would look like certain defeat for the humans, but these weren't ordinary humans anymore. The fighters moved like a school of fish, flowing around enemy fire with impossible grace. They struck from multiple directions at once, their weapons carving through alien shields as if they weren't there. In minutes, the entire enemy fleet was destroyed without a single human casualty. "Impressive," Sora said. "But can they do it against real enemies?" "They've been wanting to try for years," Lieutenant Nam replied. "These people volunteered to give up everything for a chance to fight for humanity's freedom. They're the finest warriors our species has ever produced." Sora nodded. She had helped train many of these fighters herself. They were more than soldiers. They were humanity's hope given physical form. When the time came to reveal humanity's true strength, these warriors would be ready. Back on Shipyard 7, Byung-ho received another transmission. This time, it was from Admiral Park on Earth. "Byung-ho, I need an honest assessment. Can Anvil be ready in 4 weeks?" 4 weeks? Byung-ho looked at the massive ship floating in the construction bay. "That's cutting it very close. The aliens are moving faster than we anticipated. Our spies report massive fleet movements throughout their territory. They may strike within 2 months." "Then we make it work," Byung-ho said. "I'll put every worker on triple shifts. We'll install the essential systems first and add the rest later if necessary." "Do it. Humanity's survival may depend on having 3 Titan ships ready for battle." As the transmission ended, Byung-ho looked around at the hidden shipyard. For decades, while the galaxy dismissed humanity as primitive and weak, they had been building weapons beyond alien comprehension. Soon the universe would discover what happened when they underestimated the species that had split the atom before leaving their home planet. The forges of war were nearly complete. Soon it would be time to use them. The crystal spires of the Nexus collective homeworld stretched toward the purple sky like frozen lightning. Commander Ye Jin-han walked through the alien city, her official diplomatic badge identifying her as a human trade representative. The crystalline beings around her hummed and chimed in their strange language, completely unaware that the quiet human woman was memorizing every detail of their military installations. Ye Jin had spent 5 years on this world, slowly mapping every defense system, every weapons platform, and every weakness in the aliens' security. To them, she was just another harmless human trying to negotiate better prices for mineral exports. In reality, she was one of humanity's most dangerous intelligence operatives. Her neural implant vibrated softly, an incoming message from Dr. Hae-won Kim's spy network. Yejin smiled and nodded at a passing Nexus official while secretly reading the encrypted data flowing through her enhanced vision. The message was terrifying. All 3 galactic powers were accelerating their timetables. The human integration protocol was no longer scheduled for 10 years from now. It was happening in 8 weeks. Yejin maintained her calm expression while her mind raced. 8 weeks. That barely gave humanity enough time to finish construction on their Titan ships, let alone position them for maximum effect. She needed to get this information to Admiral Park immediately. "Excuse me," she said to a nearby Nexus being, using the polite tone that aliens expected from humans. "Could you direct me to the communications center? I need to file a routine trade report." The crystalline alien chimed dismissively. "Follow the blue pathway, human. And remember, only standard trade communications are permitted." "Of course," Yejin replied with a humble bow. "Just routine business reports." If only they knew that her routine business reports were actually encrypted intelligence updates that kept humanity one step ahead of galactic annihilation. Meanwhile, on the other side of the galaxy, Jin-Woo Choi sat in a meditation chamber aboard a Korath hive ship. He was officially a cultural attaché, teaching the bug-like aliens about human art and philosophy. Actually, he was feeding carefully crafted false information directly into their hive mind. The Korath were unique among galactic species because they shared thoughts instantly across their entire civilization. What one Korath learned, they all learned within minutes. This made them incredibly dangerous enemies, but also created an opportunity for someone clever enough to exploit it. Jin-Woo had spent 20 years learning to mimic the mental patterns of Korath drones. Using a combination of advanced technology and mental training, he could insert thoughts into their hive network that seemed to come from within their own minds. He had convinced them that humans were incapable of advanced tactics, that human colonies were poorly defended, and that human morale would collapse at the first sign of real attack. All lies, of course, but lies that the Korath now believed, completely. Human Jin-Woo buzzed the Korath queen mind through her drone representatives. Your species continues to disappoint us. Your military capabilities are laughably weak. Yes, Your Majesty, Jin-Woo replied with perfect humility. We humans know we could never match the might of the Korath Dominion. Inside his mind, he was thinking, you have no idea what's coming for you. The Queen Mind's drones clicked their approval. When the integration begins, your species will serve us well in the mining colonies. Your simple minds are perfect for repetitive labor. We are honored by your attention, Jin-Woo said, while mentally updating his count of Korath military assets in this system. 300 battle cruisers, 50 dreadnoughts, and 1 mobile fortress. All of their locations now recorded in his enhanced memory for later transmission to Admiral Park. Back on Earth, Dr. Hae-won Kim sat in her office at the Federation Cultural Exchange Center, officially reviewing applications for student exchange programs. In reality, she was coordinating the most extensive spy network in galactic history. Her computer screen showed a map of known space, with thousands of tiny dots marking the positions of human agents throughout alien territory. Some were diplomats, some were traitors, some were students or researchers. All were secretly gathering intelligence that would be crucial when the war began. A soft chime indicated an incoming priority message. The text appeared on her screen in a code that looked like a routine shipping manifest, but actually contained vital intelligence from Commander Ye-jin. The news was worse than expected. The Nexus Collective had completed construction of 50 new battle stations in the past month. The Valdari Empire had tripled their telepathic warfare divisions. Most disturbing of all, the three powers were coordinating their attack plans with unprecedented cooperation. They're not just planning to divide us among themselves anymore, Hae-won murmured to herself. They're planning to wipe us out completely. Her analysis programs ran complex calculations based on the incoming intelligence. The alien powers were bringing overwhelming force, over 10,000 warships from all three civilizations, plus support vessels and troop transports. If humanity fought conventionally, they would be crushed in hours. Good thing humanity had never planned to fight conventionally. Hae-won activated her secure communication system and contacted Admiral Park. His face appeared on her screen, showing the strain of coordinating humanity's desperate preparations. Report, he said simply. It's confirmed, she replied. Full-scale attack in 8 weeks. All three powers coordinated assault, overwhelming force. They're not taking any chances. They want complete annihilation. Admiral Park was quiet for a long moment. Do we know their target priorities? Earth. First, to break human morale. Then the outer colonies to prevent any possibility of regrouping. They've planned this very thoroughly. Not as thoroughly as they think, Park said grimly. What about our people inside their governments? Still in position and still undetected. Jin-Woo reports that the Korath are completely convinced of our weakness. Ye-jin has mapped all major Nexus installations. Our Valdari assets confirm they still see humans as mentally inferior. Perfect. Let them keep thinking that until it's too late. HFY hesitated. Admiral, there's something. Elsa, the level of coordination between the three powers is unprecedented. They've never worked together like this before. I think they're more afraid of us than they're willing to admit. Afraid? Of what? I'm not sure. But something has them worried. Enough to risk working with their traditional enemies. They're bringing everything they have. Park nodded slowly. Then we bring everything we have too. Contact all assets. Full intelligence gathering mode. I want to know the location of every alien ship, every command center, every leader. When we strike, we're going to do it so hard and so fast that they won't have time to coordinate a response. As the transmission ended, HFY looked at her wall display showing the positions of human agents throughout the galaxy. 50 years of careful infiltration had given humanity eyes and ears everywhere. While the aliens thought they were the hunters, they had no idea they were actually the prey. On the Korath hive ship, Jin Woo received his new orders through a nearly undetectable quantum communication burst. Full intelligence gathering. He smiled and began planning how to extract the complete Korath battle plans without the hive mind realizing what was happening. The beauty of his position was that the Korath trusted him completely. As a harmless, human cultural attaché, he had access to areas that would be forbidden to any real threat. He had been mapping their military installations, studying their tactical doctrines, and identifying their key weaknesses for years. Soon, that knowledge would be put to use. On the Nexus homeworld, Commander Yejin received similar orders. She activated hidden scanning equipment disguised as routine trade assessment tools and began collecting detailed information about Nexus weapons technology, shield frequencies, and command protocols. The crystalline aliens were proud of their advanced technology, often showing off their capabilities to visiting humans as a way of demonstrating their superiority. They had no idea that every display was being recorded and analyzed for future use against them. Throughout the galaxy, humanity's hidden network swung into action. Agents who had spent decades building trust and credibility with alien governments suddenly became active intelligence collectors. Every conversation was recorded, every document was copied, every weakness was cataloged. The aliens had made one crucial mistake in their planning. They assumed that 50 years of peaceful coexistence had left humanity soft and unprepared. They thought that decades of apparent submission had broken the human spirit. They were about to discover that humans had spent those 50 years not in submission, but in preparation. Every smile had hidden determination. Every diplomatic nicety had concealed ruthless calculation. Every gesture of friendship had masked the gathering of intelligence for the war they all knew was coming. The web was tightening around the galactic powers, and they didn't even know they were trapped. Admiral Dae-Ho Park stood on the bridge of the Titan-class warship forge, watching the enemy fleets approach on his tactical display. The bridge was enormous, larger than most alien cities, with hundreds of officers coordinating humanity's greatest military operation. Through the transparent aluminum viewports, he could see the curve of the artificial world that was his flagship, its surface bristling with weapons that could reshape star systems. The moment had finally come. After 50 years of deception, the mask was about to fall. Enemy fleet composition confirmed, reported Commander Se-Young Kang from her tactical station. Valdari Empire, 3,000 ships including 12 dreadnoughts. Korath Dominion, 4,000 ships with Hive Command. Vessels, Nexus Collective, 3,200 ships plus mobile battle platforms. Total enemy strength over 10,000 combat vessels. And our strength? Dae-Ho asked, though he already knew the answer. 3 Titan-class warships, each carrying 800 fighters plus support craft. Total personnel, 36 million humans, all volunteers. By any conventional measure, humanity was outnumbered and outgunned by an impossible margin. The alien fleets represented the combined might of 3 galactic civilizations that had ruled space for thousands of years. Against them stood just 3 human ships and their crews. But these were not conventional ships. And these were not conventional humans. Communications from the enemy fleet, reported Lieutenant Dongjun Seo. They're demanding our immediate surrender. Put it through, Daeho said. The main display showed 3 alien commanders, a tall blue-skinned Valdari with glowing white eyes, a crystalline nexus being that chimed when it spoke, and a massive Korath queen surrounded by her drone attendants. Humans, the Valdari commander spoke with obvious contempt. You will surrender immediately and prepare for integration into our civilizations. Resistance is futile. You are outnumbered 1,000 to 1. Your primitive vessels cannot hope to match our combined fleets, chimed the Nexus being. Submit now and your deaths will be quick. The Korath Queen's mental voice buzzed through the communication system. The Hive has decided. Humanity will. Serve us in the mining colonies until your species is extinct. This is inevitable. Daeho smiled coldly. For 50 years he had listened to aliens speak about humans this way. For 50 years he had nodded politely while they planned his species' extinction. For 50 years he had played the role of the weak, helpless human. No more. I have a counter-proposal, he said calmly. You have 30 seconds to turn your fleets around and leave human space. After that, we will demonstrate why you should never have underestimated us. The 3 alien commanders looked at each other with obvious confusion, then burst into what passed for laughter among their species. Demonstrate? The Valdari asked incredulously. Human, you have 3 ships. We have 10,000. What could you possibly demonstrate except your own destruction? Daeho's smile widened. Engineerly activate the reality drives. Show them what we built while they slept. Throughout the bridge, humans worked with calm efficiency. They had trained for this moment their entire lives. Now it was time to prove that 50 years of preparation had not been wasted. Reality drives active, reported engineer Byung-Ho Lee from his station. Space-time distortion field stable, multiple manifestation ready. On the tactical display, something impossible happened. The 3 Titan ships suddenly appeared to be in dozens of different locations simultaneously. Each one manifested multiple versions of itself throughout the battlefield, surrounding the alien fleets from every direction. The aliens' orderly formations dissolved into chaos as their sensors tried to track targets that seemed to exist in multiple places at once. Their weapons locked onto Titan ships that vanished the instant they fired, only to reappear behind them. What is this? The Valdari commander demanded. This technology is impossible. Nothing is impossible, Daeho replied. You just lack the imagination to achieve it. All ships weapons free, he announced to his fleet. Operation Titan is now active. The space around Earth erupted in light as the Titan ships revealed their true nature. What had appeared to be 3 vessels suddenly became a swarm of fighters, support craft, and mobile weapons platforms launching from hidden bays throughout. Their massive hulls. Captain Sora Yoon led the first wave of fighters, her squadron emerging from Forge's primary launch bay like angry hornets. Her pilots had trained in secret for decades, preparing for this exact moment. All fighters, this is your captain, she announced over the tactical network. You know what they plan to do to our families, our children, our entire species. Show them what humans do to those who threaten our own. The human fighters moved through space with a grace that stunned the alien observers. While alien pilots needed ships with artificial gravity and life support systems, humans fought in the vacuum of space itself. They flew in 3 dimensions with perfect coordination, striking from angles that conventional tactics couldn't counter. The first alien ships to die were Korath scout vessels that tried to close with what they thought was an isolated human fighter. Instead, they found themselves surrounded by 50 human warriors who materialized out of the darkness, their weapons carving through Korath armor like it was paper. Impossible, buzzed the Korath queen. No species can fight effectively in vacuum. Our intelligence report said humans require life support. Your intelligence was wrong, Daeho replied. Like everything else you thought you knew about us. Derai. Battle spread across the solar system as the reality drives allowed the Titan ships to engage enemy forces at multiple locations simultaneously. Anvil appeared near Mars, its weapons turning a Valdari battle group into expanding clouds of plasma. Hammer manifested in the asteroid belt, its fighters swarming over a Nexus mobile fortress like microscopic predators taking down a giant. But the most devastating display came from Forge itself. The ship's main guns, weapons the size of skyscrapers, began to fire at targets throughout the enemy fleet. Each shot was precisely calculated to disable rather than destroy, demonstrating humanity's overwhelming technological advantage. "Your shields are useless," Deho announced to the alien commanders as human weapons punched through their defenses with contemptuous ease. "Your armor cannot stop us. Your tactics are obsolete. You came here expecting to fight primitives with spears. Instead, you found a species that builds weapons you cannot even comprehend." The Valdari commander tried to rally his forces. "All ships focus fire on the human vessels. They cannot be in all those places at once." But they could. And they were. The reality drives didn't just move the ships. They created genuine quantum duplicates that could act independently. Each Titan ship was fighting as if it were an entire fleet, coordinating attacks from dozens of positions simultaneously. The alien formations crumbled under the assault. Ships that had never known defeat found themselves outmaneuvered by opponents they couldn't predict or track. Veterans of 1,000 battles panicked as their weapons proved useless against enemies who seemed to exist outside normal space-time. "This is impossible," the Nexus being chimed desperately. "Our sensors show you are everywhere and nowhere." "What manner of technology is this?" "Ancient technology," Deho replied. "Older than your civilizations. You found the derelicts and declared them worthless because you couldn't understand them. We spent 50 years learning their secrets." As he spoke, human fighters continued their deadly work. They moved through the alien fleets like ghosts, striking at weak points that shouldn't have existed, exploiting tactics that defied conventional physics. Commander Yejin Han coordinated the assault on the Nexus forces from her position aboard Anvil. The intelligence she had gathered during her years undercover now proved invaluable, as human weapons targeted specific frequencies that disrupted crystalline biology. "Nexus shields failing across their entire fleet," she reported. "Their crystalline matrices can't adapt to our weapon frequencies fast enough." Jin Woo Choi provided similar coordination against the Korath, his understanding of their hive mind allowing humanity to jam their communications and sow confusion throughout their ranks. Korath drones found themselves cut off from their queens, unable to coordinate or even understand what was happening to them. Within 2 hours, the most powerful military alliance in galactic history had been reduced to scattered, fleeing remnants. Ships that had terrorized entire star systems now ran in panic from human fighters that seemed to appear out of nowhere. "Status report," Deho requested. "Enemy casualties. 60% of their fleet destroyed or disabled," Commander Kang reported. "Human casualties. 0 fatalities. Minimal damage to 3 fighters. And their morale? Completely broken. They're broadcasting surrender requests on all frequencies." Deho nodded with satisfaction. This was exactly what humanity had planned. Not just military victory, but psychological dominance so complete that the galaxy would never again consider humans to be easy prey. "Open communications to all surviving enemy vessels," he ordered. The 3 alien commanders appeared on his screen again, but now they looked very different. The arrogant contempt was gone, replaced by fear and confusion that was almost pitiful to watch. "How?" the Valdari whispered. "How did you hide this from us for 50 years? "We didn't hide it," Deho replied. "We built it. While you were pulled, the battle had lasted only 4 hours, but its effects rippled across the entire galaxy. On worlds thousands of light years away, alien populations watched in stunned silence as their supposedly invincible fleets limped home in defeat. The species they had dismissed as primitive had just demonstrated military capabilities beyond their wildest nightmares. Admiral Deho Park stood before the main display on Forge's bridge, watching the tactical situation unfold across multiple star systems. The initial battle had been just the beginning. Now came the real test of humanity's preparation. "Status report on all fronts," he ordered. Commander Se Young Kang's voice was steady despite the magnitude of what they were coordinating. "Anvil has completed reality jump to the Valdari home system. Hammer is engaging Korath defensive positions in the Kepler sector. All primary objectives are proceeding according to plan. The plan was audacious beyond anything attempted in galactic history. While the alien powers had concentrated their fleets for the attack on Earth, humanity was using the reality drives to strike at the heart of all three civilizations simultaneously. The Titan ships could appear anywhere in the galaxy without warning, making traditional defensive strategies useless. Communications from the Valdari homeworld, reported Lieutenant Dongjun Seo. The face of High Chancellor Vaelthos appeared on screen, his blue skin pale with shock. Behind him, the crystal spires of the Valdari capital city stretched toward a purple sky. But now those spires were dark, their energy systems disabled by precisely targeted human attacks. Admiral Park, the Valdari leader said, his mental voice shaking. What do you want from us? What do we want? Deho repeated. 50 years ago, your people planned to make humanity extinct. You wanted to use our children as slave labor until our species died out. Now you ask what we want? That was a mistake, Vaelthos stammered. We didn't understand your true capabilities. We can negotiate. You negotiated for 50 years, Deho interrupted. Every trade agreement, every cultural exchange, every diplomatic meeting was preparation for genocide. Now it's our turn to negotiate. Through the reality drives, Anvil appeared in orbit around the Valdari homeworld like a metal moon. Its presence alone was enough to shut down all resistance. No planetary defense could stop a weapon that could appear instantly anywhere in space. Engineer Byung-Ho Lee coordinated the technical aspects of the assault from his station aboard Forge. All Titan ships report successful target acquisition. We have complete control of enemy communications and can disable their military assets at will. The beauty of humanity's strategy was its restraint. They weren't destroying alien civilizations. They were demonstrating absolute superiority over them. Every attack was precisely calculated to disable rather than kill, to shock rather than annihilate. On the Korath homeworld, Jinwoo Choi finally revealed his true nature to the aliens who had trusted him for 20 years. Standing in the Queen's chamber where he had once pretended to be a humble cultural attaché, he now wore the uniform of a human intelligence officer. You, the Korath Queen buzzed in disbelief. All this time you were a spy, Jinwoo confirmed. Every report I gave you about human weakness was false. Every cultural exchange was actually intelligence gathering. Every friendly conversation was preparation for this moment. The Queen's massive insectoid form trembled with rage and fear. The Hive trusted you. The Hive trusted what you wanted to see, Jinwoo replied calmly. A harmless human who admired your superiority. You never looked deeper because you assumed we were incapable of deception. Behind him, human soldiers in advanced combat suits secured the chamber. They had infiltrated the heavily defended Hive complex using technology the Korath couldn't detect, arriving through quantum tunnels that bypassed every security system. Your Hive network is now under our control, Jinwoo continued. We've been studying your neural patterns for decades. We can feed thoughts directly into your collective consciousness, or we can shut it down entirely. The Queen's mental voice was weak with defeat. What will you do to us? That depends on you, Jinwoo said. We can be merciful rulers or terrible ones. The choice is yours. Meanwhile, on the crystalline homeworld of the Nexus Collective, Commander Yejin Han stood in the central spire, where she had once pretended to be a trade representative. Now the building's crystal walls showed the tactical displays of her real job, coordinating the fall of an entire civilization. Your quantum computational networks are quite impressive, she told the assembled Nexus leaders. We've been studying them for years through our trade delegations. Every piece of technology you showed us to demonstrate your superiority actually helped us learn how to defeat you. The crystal beings chimed in harmonious despair. Their entire society was based on computational power, but human cyber warfare techniques had turned their own technology against them. How long have you been planning this? Asked Prime Resonance Thielkor, the closest thing the Nexus had to a leader. 50 years, Yejin replied. From the moment we learned about your integration protocol, we began preparing. Every human in diplomatic service was actually a military intelligence operative. Every trade mission was reconnaissance. Every cultural exchange was psychological warfare. Back on Forge, Dr. Haewon Kim coordinated the information warfare campaign that was reshaping galactic civilization. Her spy network revealed at last controlled communication systems throughout known space. All major alien news networks are broadcasting our demonstration, she reported to Admiral Park. Population centers across the galaxy are seeing what happened to their invincible fleets. The psychological impact is beyond our projections. Any resistance from secondary powers, Daeho asked. None significant. The smaller species are offering immediate surrender. They want protection from the big three, not conflict with humanity. This was exactly what humanity had hoped for. The galaxy contained hundreds of minor species that had lived in fear of the three major powers for millennia. By defeating the Valdari, Korath, and Nexus so decisively, humanity had positioned itself as the new galactic protector. Message from Captain Yoon, Lieutenant Seo announced. Captain Sora's face appeared on the tactical display, calling in from the fighter bay where her pilots were preparing for the next phase of operations. Admiral, my people are ready for planetary occupation if needed. But I recommend we stick to the original plan, demonstrate overwhelming force, then offer terms. Agreed, Daeho said. We're liberators, not conquerors. Once we've secured the major military assets, we negotiate. The genius of humanity's approach was that they had planned beyond mere victory. They had studied galactic civilization for 50 years, learning not just how to defeat it, but how to rebuild it better. Sir, Commander Kang said, we're receiving surrender offers from all three alien governments. Already? Daeho was surprised. It's only been 6 hours since the initial attack. Apparently, seeing their homeworlds occupied simultaneously broke their will to resist. They're requesting immediate ceasefire negotiations. Daeho nodded. This was the moment he had trained for his entire life, not just winning the war, but winning the peace that followed. Open channels to all three alien governments, he ordered. It's time to discuss terms. The main display split into 3 sections, showing the defeated leaders of the galaxy's former superpowers. The Valdari Chancellor, the Korath Queen, and the Nexus Prime Resonance all looked like broken shadows of their former arrogant selves. We surrender, Chancellor Vialthos said simply. What are your terms? Our terms are simple, Daeho replied. Complete abolition of slavery throughout your territories. Reparations for 50 years of planned genocide. Technology sharing agreements that benefit all species equally. And oversight to ensure this never happens again. And if we refuse? The Korath Queen buzzed weakly. Daeho smiled coldly. You won't refuse, because you've seen what we can do when threatened. You've learned that underestimating humanity is the last mistake you'll ever make. The 3 alien leaders exchanged glances, their defeat complete and total. We accept your terms, Prime Resonance Thielkor chimed sadly. The galactic balance of power had shifted permanently in the space of a single day. 3 civilizations that had ruled for thousands of years now knelt before the species they had planned to exterminate. But Daeho knew this was only the beginning. Now came the harder task of rebuilding galactic civilization according to human principles. Principles that valued freedom over security, diversity over conformity, and justice over order. The reckoning was complete. Now humanity would discover if they were wise enough to use their victory well. 6 months after the day that changed everything, Dr. Haewon Kim stood before the assembled representatives of 400 species in the newly constructed Galactic Assembly Hall. The building floated in space at the gravitational center of the galaxy, a neutral location where no single species held advantage. She wore the simple blue uniform of the Human Diplomatic Corps, but her title had changed dramatically. Where once she had been a cultural exchange coordinator, she was now the first human chancellor of the reformed Galactic Federation. The old order is dead, she announced to the vast chamber filled with beings of every conceivable shape and size. For too long the strong preyed upon the weak. For too long might made right. Today we build something better. In the audience, representatives from hundreds of worlds listened with rapt attention. Some were former slaves freed by humanity's victory. Others were minor species who had lived in fear of the great powers. All of them were learning what it meant to live under human protection. The three former superpowers sat in a special section, reserved for probationary members. The Valdari, Korath, and Nexus civilizations were still rebuilding after their crushing defeat, their once mighty fleets reduced to patrol vessels under human oversight. Chancellor Kim, spoke Representative Zethra, a butterfly-like being from a world that had been scheduled for Korath colonization. How can we trust that humanity will not become the same kind of oppressor we just escaped from? It was a fair question, one that Haywan had expected. Throughout the chamber, hundreds of alien eyes focused on her response. Because, she said, simply, we remember what it felt like to be prey. She activated the holographic display that showed the current state of galactic civilization. Green dots marked worlds under human protection. Blue ones showed free trade zones. Yellow indicated areas still recovering from the old regime's oppression. Humanity spent 50 years preparing for extinction, she continued. We know what it means to be helpless while others plan your destruction. We swore that no species would ever face that fate again. As she spoke, Admiral Daeho Park watched from the command bridge of Forge, now positioned at the edge of the galaxy where it served as humanity's mobile headquarters. The great warship had become more than a weapon. It was a symbol of humanity's commitment to protecting the weak. Status report on the integration programs? He asked Commander Se-Young Kang. Proceeding ahead of schedule, she replied. Former Feldari slave colonies are reporting 300% increases in productivity under free labor systems. Korath mining worlds are being converted to multi-species cooperative ventures. Nexus computational networks are being opened to all species for research purposes. The transformation had been remarkable to watch. Species that had been enemies for millennia were learning to work together under human guidance. Trade routes that had been closed for centuries were reopening. Entire civilizations were discovering what they could accomplish when freed from the fear of conquest. Any resistance from the old powers? Daeho asked. Minimal. The occupation forces report full cooperation from all three governments. They seemed genuinely committed to reform. This had been one of humanity's greatest surprises. Rather than fighting the new order, the former superpowers had embraced it with almost desperate enthusiasm. It was as if defeat had freed them from the burden of maintaining their oppressive systems. Captain Sora Yoon, now Admiral of the Human Guardian Fleet, coordinated patrols throughout the galaxy from her flagship Hammer. Her forces were no longer hidden. They flew openly through space, their presence a guarantee that the old ways would never return. Guardian 7 to Fleet Command, came a report from one of her patrol captains. We've intercepted a distress signal from the Tau sector. Unknown raiders attacking a civilian convoy. Response time? Sora asked. 18 minutes using reality drives. Execute rescue operation. Rules of engagement. Disable and capture if possible. Destroy if necessary. This was the new reality of galactic civilization, where once distress signals had gone unanswered while governments debated jurisdiction. Human forces now responded instantly to any threat against civilian populations. The rescue was completed in minutes. Human fighters materialized around the convoy using reality drive technology. Their sudden appearance enough to send the raiders fleeing into hyperspace. The convoy's crew, a mix of species that would never have traveled together under the old system, sent grateful messages back to Guardian Fleet Command. Meanwhile, on the former Korath homeworld, Jin Woo Choi oversaw the complex process of transitioning a hive mind society to individual freedom. It was perhaps the most challenging task humanity had undertaken, but early results were promising. How are the liberation programs proceeding? He asked Dr. Min-A Cho, a human psychologist specializing in collective consciousness disorders. Better than we hoped, she replied. Once we severed the compulsive elements of the hive mind, individual Korath personalities began to emerge naturally. They're discovering concepts like personal choice and individual creativity for the first time in their species' history. Through the window of their office, they could see former Korath drones working alongside humans and other species on construction projects. The rigid military formations were gone, replaced by diverse groups cooperating on shared goals. Any regrets about losing the hive mind? Jinwoo asked. Some, Dr. Cho admitted. But they're adapting quickly. Yesterday, a Korath engineer told me that having her own thoughts was terrifying but wonderful. I think that sums up their transition perfectly. On the Nexus homeworld, Commander Ye Jin Han faced different challenges. The crystalline beings had been so focused on computational perfection that they had forgotten how to make decisions based on emotion or intuition. Your mathematical models are very impressive, she told Prime Resonance Thale Kor, who was learning to govern through consensus rather than algorithm. But sometimes leadership requires making choices that don't optimize perfectly. This is difficult to understand, the crystal being chimed uncertainly. How do you decide when multiple solutions have equal logical merit? You choose the one that feels right, Yejin replied. Trust your instincts. Learn to value things that can't be measured in numbers. It was slow work, but the Nexus were gradually learning to balance their analytical nature with more organic decision-making processes. Their society was becoming more flexible, more adaptive, more alive. Back in the assembly hall, Chancellor Haiwan was addressing the question that everyone wanted answered. What would humanity do with its unprecedented power? We will do what humans have always done when given responsibility, she said. We will try our best to be worthy of the trust placed in us. We will make mistakes and we will learn from them. We will protect those who cannot protect themselves, and we will teach others to stand on their own. She paused, looking out at the sea of alien faces watching her with hope and uncertainty. Most importantly, we will never forget that power is not a privilege to be enjoyed, but a burden to be carried for the benefit of all. A new voice spoke from the assembly. Representative Kolthay, a Valdari who had once been part of the government that planned humanity's extinction. Chancellor, my people lived for centuries believing that might made right. You have shown us a different way. But how do we know this peace will last? How do we know that future generations will maintain these ideals? Heywan smiled. Because we are building something that doesn't depend on any single species or leader. We are creating institutions that will outlast us all. She activated another display showing the construction sites scattered throughout the galaxy. Massive space stations were taking shape at key locations, each one designed to serve as a regional government center and guardian base. These stations will be staffed by representatives from all member species, she explained. No single civilization will control them. They will serve as centers of learning, trade, and mutual defense. When humanity is gone, the galaxy will still have guardians to protect the innocent. As the assembly session continued, Admiral Park received a priority communication from long-range sensors. Sir, reported Lieutenant Seo, we're detecting unknown ships approaching from beyond the galactic rim. Configuration suggests they're not from any known civilization. First contact situation? Park asked. Appears so. They're broadcasting mathematical sequences, probably trying to establish peaceful intent. Park nodded. This was another test of humanity's new role as galactic protectors. How would they handle contact with unknown species? Signal all Guardian fleets, standard first contact protocols. Peaceful approach, but be ready for anything. Should we alert the other Titan ships? No, Park decided. Let's see if we can handle this diplomatically first. The galaxy needs to see that humanity's first instinct is peace, not war. The approaching ships were unlike anything in Federation databases. They moved with grace and purpose, their sleek hulls suggesting advanced technology. As they entered the outer system, they broadcast a message in perfect galactic standard language. We are the ethereal collective, came the transmission. We have watched the recent changes in this galaxy with great interest. We come seeking dialogue with the species that ended 10,000 years of oppression in a single day. Park smiled.